Nearing right there. Hey, good morning and welcome in. It is Mornings at Meridian here on this Monday, September the 18th. That's right, Roger is off this morning. We're just rotating these days off around here. Well, Rob, been with you this morning. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. And joining me this morning, he's back for another week. It's Charles Frazier.
Good morning.
How
This
are
thing
you?
on?
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's our Monday morning mic check.
Oh, the Monday morning, right.
You
Okay.
get enough volume in your ears. You need some
No,
more.
a little
You good?
more.
A little more. What about now? What about now? What
I
about
think-
now? What
I
about
think,
now? What about now?
that's pretty good.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. Good,
All right,
good. All right, we get all the level checks done. We're good to go. Now, what are we going to talk about?
I have no idea.
Just kidding.
Football? We can talk football.
No, well, we can talk about football.
We'll talk about football.
It's be sports talk show this morning.
Yes, indeed.
There you go. So, but 10 minutes into the 7 o'clock hour, the two best hours of local live talk is right here on WALT. Of course, on the old Facebook this morning as well. Go like us and follow us there at Facebook.com. Of course, WALT Talk Radio is the page. And got the feed online as well, WALTMeridian.com. How was your weekend? Was it good?
It was good. Yeah. It's kind of a slower time in the restaurant right now. We do have, with football, that kind of hurts us a little bit on Friday nights. But as people come through, a lot of travelers coming through, so that can actually help, well, not just us, but hotels and that sort of thing in the city. So, we were hoping for a big crowd on Friday with LSU. A lot of times they'll stay here in Meridian and kind of go out to eat, and not as big as it has been. I don't know why that was, but maybe the time the start of the game or something like that.
Yeah,
but
I think that 11 o'clock start was just. Sometimes it's hit or miss with those early start times, but they do that because of the old TV. We got to jam as many of those games on television as they can.
Well,
So.
the amount of money they make off those, then it's
no
we'll
doubt.
play at midnight if you need us to.
Absolutely.
Just send us that $65 million or whatever.
Exactly. A lot to get into this morning after a busy weekend. Was not on the show Friday. I appreciate Paul Tarver sitting in with Roger on Friday. Roger will be back tomorrow.
Yeah,
he
so he says.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Okay,
but we got a lot to roll through. Budget talks at every level of government. Of course, the Board of Supervisors has gotten their budget ready to roll, and looks like the city of Meridian is discussing the police budget. Oh, boy.
Right. Okay, I'm glad that they're discussing that, the police department in general. But,
Right.
are the woes of the police department because of what they're paying the police officers? And that may be part of it, but I think they need to examine everything, the big picture, and say, okay, what's really going on? Why are we not able to attract new recruits at the level that we want to? Why can we not retain the people that we need to? Is it strictly salary, pay, or are there other issues that kind of contribute to that? So, and I think that certainly pay is one of those issues. But let's be honest, I think that there's some others as well.
Of course, we will get to more bond issue talk this morning. You think we were going to avoid that? Nah, never.
It's the new coroner issue.
Exactly.
Yes.
But they did have their first open discussion meeting on Thursday. I hate that I was not here Friday to talk about that, but we do have some details. Of course, the Meridian Star published an article on Saturday recapping a lot of that open discussion. Of course, Rob Smith was there along with Superintendent of Education, Dr. John Mark Kane was there as well. So we'll read some of that article to you this morning in case you missed any of that. Of course, that meeting was at Northeast Middle back on Thursday, and they're going to have 3 more of those, and I believe one of those is tonight. They're going to have it out at Southeast tonight. So we'll go over those dates and times with you again. Of course, going to go over the voting precincts again, where you're supposed to go vote and all this other kind of stuff. And we're going to continue to beat that drum and be sure folks are informed about the bond issue. But we will get into all of that coming up this morning. But we want to kick off the show by thanking one of our fantastic sponsors. There's a little bit of a coolness in the air this morning. And starting to somewhat feel like we're getting toward hunting season.
Yes, it does.
And
leaves are starting to turn a little bit. Oh, man. I know we're getting close to it. And, the place to go see, Tony's Southern Sportsman. 1724 Front Street, right underneath the 18th Avenue overpass. Everything you need for your outdoor adventures, whether that's hunting, of course, coming up soon, hiking, fishing, camping, you name it, he's got it, and he's got plenty of it as well. Of course, he's an expert in all things hunting. He's got bows like you wouldn't believe, and he's even got a little shooting range underneath the overpass. So you can kind of check out a bow, make sure you like it. He can tune it for you, size it for you, all that kind of stuff. go see Tony's Southern Sportsman, 1724 Front Street, 601-693-4111. And, of course, he's open 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, and again on Saturday morning, 8:30 to 1.
Of course, we will get into more bond issue talk this morning, but want to start out with, we just mentioned the police department, the Meridian Police Department, that is. And, of course, budget discussions are continuing with the city of Meridian, and there is talk of pay hikes considered for employees. Now, one of the main focuses, they had a little get-together, little Friday morning meeting about raises for current and new officers of the Meridian Police Department. Now, the mayor, Jimmy Smith, is in support of these raises. Who wouldn't be? And to retain and recruit in those efforts. He said there are many open positions. A raise in the police department, Charles, $5,000 for each sworn-in officer, and raise the salary by $5,000. He thinks it would be a good police department, and we need. He said he thinks they have a good police department, and we need to try to make sure that we embrace them to try and keep what we've got so far. We probably need about 25 more policemen. That is according to Jimmy Smith, quote here from WTOK. The next budget meeting to discuss the budget for the Meridian Police Department will take place on Wednesday. So 5,000 on both ends of that right there.
And so I guess the question is, where's that money coming from? You know?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I haven't seen any more details about what the budget's going to look like for the next fiscal year. Of course, we got a copy of this past year's budget, and everybody always slings around what number? The $9 million.
Sure, and a lot of that's for salary, and I think that the council tried to pull some of that back and say, wait a minute, we can use that for other things. So maybe it's already budgeted for. I'm not sure. That would be something we need to dive into and get some more information about.
Yeah, it says $5,000 for each sworn-in officer and raise the salary by $5,000. So that's kind of the goal right now as budget discussions continue for this next fiscal year. Like I said, Wednesday will be the next, scheduled discussion about this upcoming budget. Of course, they'll have to get all the other stuff situated. But policing, obviously, is, and it should be the main focus right now.
Sure.
Of the city in those talks.
Well, and so if we've got, and I think these numbers are accurate or thereabouts, I hope they are anyway, about 50 is what we're thinking as far as officers and staff at the police department.
That's all together.
Right.
How many boots on the ground as far as...
Well, is that what he's talking about? Just the boots on the ground?
Well, I mean,
so
he says 25 more policemen.
Okay.
So when I hear policemen, I think of on the streets.
Well, you can be a desk policeman, a desk jockey. I don't know what you want to call those guys, but I think they still serve an important role as well. But so if we've got 50, then that's 250,000 to put it in perspective. Adding another 25 or so, which is Mayor Smith's optimal plan, would be another 125,000. Although plus that would be an increase plus the salaries that they would be paid anyway. So you're looking at probably close to $1 million, I would think.
At least. Yeah. At least. And of course, it's you look at the money, it's somewhat of a raise, but the problem is recruiting and retaining these folks. That's the big issue right there, is the recruiting part and retaining these folks once they're in the department, because they always are looking, anyone's looking for better opportunities if they're not happy where they're at. And we need 25 more folks, that number. What is it now as far as folks patrolling? And I think that, like you said, the desk folks, that all of that is super important to keep the department rolling. But, is that 25 more of what we need on the streets? Probably need a lot more than 25 because we've talked about it a lot in the past, that a lot of these shifts that are out there, how many officers are on shift right now? Probably just a handful.
Well, and I think that, just kind of listening to what other people around the city have said is that we're losing a lot of these veteran police officers as well. And why are we losing those? Why can't we not retain the ones that have been there 8-10 years on the force and they're going to Lauderdale County or to other jurisdictions to be an officer there? So, and I don't think it all has to do with money. I think that's an easy answer. Oh yeah, we're just not paying them enough. But that doesn't solve all of our problems.
Yeah. 601-485-9191. Let's go to the phone line. Hey, caller. Good morning.
Y'all get this out of your system before tomorrow, okay?
Yes. Hello, Sheriff. How are we?
Manic Monday, sir.
It is always a Manic Monday.
Hey, I'll get all this out of your system before I come in tomorrow morning.
There you go.
We're
Tomorrow,
just getting started.
Tomorrow, yeah, we're just getting started. So we'll let you talk about the bond issue tomorrow. How about that?
That's okay. I probably have an angle for you.
You've always got an angle for something.
Now, listen, we're talking about the future and everything. Am I supposed to take a risk and expend my hard-earned money to purchase a biscuit for somebody who is supposed to be there?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is a gamble.
Yeah, I don't think you should.
Because I'll make that purchase before I even know he's there.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is he is scheduled to be here tomorrow.
Well, I'm scheduled to be here the next 104 days.
104. Okay.
Roger gives me
clarification.
his dates, and I know when he's going to be here, not be here. And most times that schedule is pretty clear. He messaged me on Friday and said he had to be gone today, and I was like, okay.
All right.
Well, like I say, I will be there, and if we had to feed a dog his biscuit because he didn't show up,
Well,
let's do it.
Sheriff, I'd say this: if he's not here tomorrow, you send him a bill for $4.95 or whatever that is.
Yeah,
$3.95.
there you go.
That'll work.
Whether or not you get paid, that's a totally different story.
Exactly.
But at least you submitted the bill, so we got your back on that one. We'll
I
support
mean,
you.
I've been waiting for that check for the last almost 20 years.
I was about to say, how long has it been
All right.
now? So,
Yeah.
well, Sheriff, I know
Hold
we'll
your
talk
breath.
more about the county budget while you're here tomorrow, but I know they made some decisions on that end. We'll talk more about that when you're here tomorrow. So,
Yeah, the next sheriff's budget's been set. Under state law, I can only spend 25% of what's been set. So, we'll move on down the road, sir.
there you go. Fantastic. Well, I will be sure Mr. Burke knows that you rang this morning and that your order is possibly in limbo.
Well, like I say, he'll either eat it, enjoy it, or miss it and regret it.
There you go. That's right.
Because these opportunities are running out.
That's right. 104 days.
That's right.
Yeah.
104 days.
Yeah, because we got September, October, November, and
That's
December. That's it.
Yeah, after this, just 3 months.
There you go.
Fantastic. Well, Sheriff, how's everything out in the county this morning?
Just a typical day on earth, sir.
Very good.
Got bad guys everywhere, and unfortunately, they prey on those of us who want to live a quiet and peaceful life.
Exactly.
I had several fires throughout the county this weekend. Waiting to get to work and talk to our fire investigator and see if any of them were not accidental.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the city unfortunately had a murder this weekend.
Sure.
But things are just rocking along, sir.
There you go. Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Sheriff, appreciate you checking in this morning, and I will pass the message along.
I do appreciate it, sir. And like I say, look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow with something to talk about, I'm sure.
I love it.
Let this hang in
I
there,
love
man.
the hesitation. I love
We'll
it.
see. Yes. Maybe.
All right, Sheriff, appreciate you this morning.
All right, you guys take care.
See you
Thanks,
tomorrow. I love that, the hesitation. It was like,
Right.
we will have something to talk about
Something.
tomorrow. Sheriff Billy Solly, of course,
yeah, that's
checking in
awesome.
with us. Fantastic. He'll be here on his regular visit tomorrow morning. I just got a message from one of our longtime listeners a second ago about the police department. You know, at one time, we had 110 officers at one point on the force.
As in boots on the ground, as patrolling officers.
And we were pretty darn safe at that point. And like I said, the numbers have shifted dramatically at the Meridian Police Department.
Well, and policing is part of it, and I think that the police department is actually effective with what they have. Okay,
Sure,
which is limited, and we see that they're I think they're fairly good at even with their reduced numbers.
Right.
I think the other issue is, of course, the criminal justice system. I mean, we don't have the space to lock these guys. We can arrest them.
Yeah, we don't
and then
talk
what?
about that part enough.
Well, we need to, and I think that if we're looking at budget, then hey, the city needs to step up and say, wait a minute, we need more facility to lock these guys up, and then on a state level as well. But that's nothing we can do about that locally.
Yeah.
Well, we can elect politicians who are going to build more jails, but the immediacy is what do we do about our current situation?
Well, we
locally?
always go back to the juvenile problem. I mean, the juvenile detention facility. We've talked about that. We've had folks running for office at the state level. I know Ben Shirley's been on this show before. Of course, he ran against Mr. Horn for that particular office. That was a big part of his campaign about, we need that facility here locally because we're sending them here, and everywhere, and that's a big cost to the taxpayers of Lauderdale County to do that. But yeah, when you're looking through the eyes of the police department with what you mentioned, the criminal justice system, you arrest them. Well, guess what? More times than not, they're right back out.
Sure, a couple hours later. Well, and it almost comes to the point of why arrest them? Why go through the process? Why go through the hassle of actually processing them and bringing them down to the station and then, going through that for them to be out on the street in an hour or two, and then for charges to be dropped or whatever that is. And even if they aren't dropped, then it's a slap on the wrist and, they have some fines or something like that. What's the point of the whole going through the whole process? And I think that they're probably frustrated with that. I'd love to hear from some guys who are out there or ladies who are out there patrolling and kind of seeing that firsthand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, you heard the sheriff mention there was a murder in the Meridian area over the weekend as well. So I'm not. What is the total on that now?
8, I believe.
Is it 8? I thought it was getting close to 10.
Yeah.
So, but so that's 8 this year so far. So. So there you go. 601-485-9191 online at WALTMeridian.com and, of course, on Facebook Live this morning. Search us and follow us and like us on Facebook, WALT Talk Radio. And we'll get into more budget talk with the county coming up here shortly, along with the bond issue.
Mr. Bond.
But first, we need to talk about where to go get a good bite to eat this morning, and that's going to be off of exit 150. That's Magnolia Restaurant, the Queen City Truck Stop.
That's right. We're talking budget. Woo! And I tell you what, their prices, they actually lowered their prices recently. You know that? That's crazy. Nobody's doing that. Well, except at the Magnolia Restaurant. Of course, they got the Rise and Shine breakfast. The long haul breakfast as well. If you're a long haul truck driver, man, that thing will keep you going all day long, even if you're not a long haul truck driver. And, of course, today is Monday. They got pot roast. That is awesome. That's just some down-home cooking right there. Beef tips over rice. I know that's Roger's favorite. The hamburger steak, fried chicken, chicken tenders, and they always got the veggie plates. And I know your personal favorite, the Biggie Burger.
Biggie Burger!
How big is it? Huge! It's humongous. Go see them, the Magnolia Restaurant inside the Queen City Truck Stop, exit 150. Of course, you can also get something to go. Just give them a call, 601-482-0259. Of course, their hours of operation are
24 hours a day.
all hours. That's right. They never close. Don't even have a lock on the door.
I know one thing. We were in town yesterday. We had to make a couple of runs around town, and we noticed the Sunday church crowd had flooded into the Magnolia Restaurant.
Man, we get it too, and it's like, open the floodgates.
Exactly.
They're coming, and they're hungry.
All right, let's go back to the phone line this morning. Hey, caller, welcome in.
Hey, I know you guys are up against a break, so I'll try to make this quick.
Come on.
Years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Center and ACLU lobbied our state legislature to make to make it where you couldn't keep people in jail for certain offenses and to make cash bail not a thing anymore.
Right.
Because they insist that we don't have debtors' prisons in Mississippi anymore. My point of contention is try telling that to the IRS. But anyway, So, Mississippi Rules of Criminal Procedure came out in 2017, and Rule 8.2 says that any charge that is bailable as a matter of right, the person is supposed to be essentially given a citation and told to come back to court. So that's where it comes in that you have to just cite them out and let them go. Now, there are conditions under which you release someone. So if you charge somebody with domestic violence or something, there are things that the judge can look at and say, hey, this person is a danger to possibly the victim or the general public or whatever, and that person can be held. Or if somebody gets charged with shoplifting and gets cited out, and then part of their conditions of that citation or being released is you don't get arrested again for shoplifting, and they go out and do it again, then they can be held. So there are conditions under which they can be held, but then you run into the problem of where to put them.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier is where are we going to put these, especially the juveniles? So
we definitely need a juvenile detention facility, both for city and county.
yes, absolutely. Cannot agree more.
But we also need people to petition their state lawmakers to do away with this slap on the hand business, because there's a reason that this system has worked for so long, because sometimes that's the only thing some people understand.
You're right. Absolutely. Well, we got to
have a great day.
All right, we got to run. I
Thanks.
appreciate that this morning. So, yes, that always rears its ugly head too. There, Charles, the Southern Poverty Law.
Oh yeah, I love 'em.
Always does. Do you?
Not really, no.
All right, we're gonna take a break here on Mornings of Meridian. We got some Fox News coming up along with Your Money Now, and we'll take more of your phone calls at 601-485-9191. We'll be back. All right, welcome back into the program. 601-485-9191 is our number. You got Rob and Charles in this morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well in this new week here. Miss LaWanda McCoy on Facebook Live made a comment about the police department. She said, if not mistaken, at the beginning of 2013, there were 80 officers. That was feet on the ground at Meridian Police Department. So,
Okay.
But obviously, we're nowhere near that right now, and
well, nor do we have an accurate number of how many are
would
actually
be-
out there on patrol. So,
that would be
you know,
great to know.
It would be, and it would be good to do a crime statistic analysis of where we are now, where we were then. Of course, there's different trends and so on in crime, but still, if you look at that and then look at the number of officers that we have, there can be some correlation, some conclusions that are drawn from that. But anyway, we don't have all of all that information.
You know what my favorite word is? Transparency.
Is it?
Yeah, one of my favorite words is transparency.
Okay.
Haven't gotten a lot of that lately. So anyway, just throwing it out
I don't know
there.
if I have a favorite word. I think ice cream. That's 2 words, but I kind of like that one.
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. Yeah, hair sniffing.
All right, let's go to the phone line this morning at 485-9191. Hey, caller, welcome in.
MAGA morning, true American patriots.
Hi's.
Mr. Hasenfratz.
How are you, sir?
Well, we heard, let's throw money at the problem. Somebody else's money. Where have we heard that before?
It seems like we got a lot of stories this morning, It seemed like throwing money is going to solve the problem.
Yeah, throw somebody else's
It's
Money,
That's
yeah,
it.
exactly.
That's right. And here's the sheriff and the sheriff's deputies in that operation. I don't know how much differential they might be in the pay, but they don't have any problem recruiting people, and they don't have any problems. They don't have any problem enforcing the law in the county and the city. So I don't think throwing more money at the MPD is going to solve one thing. Without a change of leadership, dynamic leadership, and a new game plan to fight the gangs and the dope and the shootings, nothing will change.
Do you think we've gotten to the point of no return on this, or do you think we still got?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just because it's not reported, just because certain media want to pretend this is like a fantasy land, that doesn't mean the crime doesn't exist.
Of course, we
it's
had.
shameful to have 8 murders in
Yeah.
a little hick town like Meridian.
Yeah. Of course, number 8.
And-
number 8 was over the weekend. So
That's exactly right. And a new CTE and all these other glorified schemes and dreams will not change the thing the people really care about is the security and safety and the crime issue. You've got to have a priority. That is number one. We had instances in Meridian this weekend. People accosted, had windows broke out, and it's just going to be more and more of this. There's no means to stop it, except the people themselves. Now, you're responsible basically for your own security nowadays because they have no game plan. You're a sports guy. Would you go to a big football game and have no plan against the team you're going to face?
no, might
That's
as well.
where we are in this. It's like,
Yeah.
let's just throw something against the wall and hope it sticks.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play in that game. I think I'd stay at the house.
Yeah, and, it's all about the optics, not about the results. I'm a results-oriented kind of person. I want to see facts and figures. I want to hear and see the truth, and I will draw my own inferences and conclusions based on what I see. What are the facts pertinent to this? Like you said about transparency, we're not getting it. And throw in more money. What? We got $9.6 million a year. Where is that going?
And I'm wondering
Maybe
what.
we need to get Shad White over here to shake it down and check the books, man. How How much is it going to cost to have a safe Meridian?
Well, and as Charles was mentioning too, we were doing the figures on this $5,000 pay increase for the sworn-in officers and the salary increase. The thing about it is, where's that money coming from, and how is this new budget going to shake out? Because, like you said, 9.6 in this past year's budget. What's the police department budget going to look like if they approve these raises coming up? And not sheriff, but the mayor said we need 25 more policemen. And like we said, is that folks that are actually out patrolling, or is that all together in the offices and stuff like that? So
they need a lot more. They're probably going to need a lot more than 25 with what's going on in Meridian.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I said, I've lived here coming up on 74 years. This thing ain't nothing but a giant cesspool, and they have no plan. It's a, by guess and by golly type deal, because they do not have a clue how to solve this. But on the CTE issue, I had a phrase last week, just say no. I'd like to amend that.
All right.
Just say no and tell them where to go. I got a friend's going to the Southeast thing tonight.
Yeah.
He said, I want to go out there and hear the lies for myself. That's right. And if people make the effort, I know it's going to be an inconvenience to go to these deal. They set it up that way so they could hedge a bet and win on the advice of their attorney. Take them to the dance. Go to the extra effort and show them and voice your opinion and rub their nose in it. Roger that.
Oh, we got that. Roger that. There you go. So, but that's one thing I'm going to be interested in. Going back to the police department deal is, if these raises are approved, what would the actual overall budget look like once the council gets an opportunity to ultimately vote on it? Which, let's be honest, when a budget is approved, how much of that money is actually going to be used within that fiscal year? Because we know that there was money moved around this past year from that particular budget. I mean, it happens, I think, every single year. But then again, what are we getting initially for the amount that's approved? So as far as the policing goes.
The way I see it is this. You're going from the wrong direction. You're going from the bottom up. You should be going from the top down.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if we're going to spend money on something, let's get the best police chief available. Let's pay him.
Yeah.
We got to pull a Nick Saban. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got to get the best guy out there. And we get somebody, or woman. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not gender specific. I don't care who it is. But
Man,
as long
woman,
as they are the best. And
man, woman, black, white, doesn't matter. Bottom line.
And I think then you build around that. And as opposed to just bringing in more, well, that's fine, bring in just more people, but, you know, what's kind of going on with the leadership of the police department? How effective is it? You know, how effective are policing strategies, you know, with the drug task force and all of that apparently is not cooperating with the sheriff's department at this point. So, you know, there are a lot of things that need to be addressed kind of in a cultural or a systemic nature, but that aren't being. And so just kind of throwing more people on the street and more money, well, does that solve the problem? It can solve some immediate problems, but what's our long-term goal and vision?
Well, and two, you're looking at possibly approving these raises and whatnot to hire these folks, but they're going to be very, very green when they go out there.
Sure they are.
You know, and that's, I mean.
And are we going to train them and then they leave in 2 years? And so then we've done our work, we've paid for the training, we've invested in them, and then boom, they're gone.
Seems like that kind of fits into the CTE thing, too, in some ways. We train them and then they leave because we don't have the jobs. Anyway, just thinking about it.
Well, that's a whole different concept. And I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think we have an obligation to teach our children regardless. And if they do leave, then so be it. We've done our job in training them right. So, you know, but we certainly don't want to invest in training people and then have them leave. So
let's go back to the phone line. Hey, caller, good morning.
Mabel, get Mayberry on the line. We need Barney Fife.
Barney Fife?
We could use a bunch of Barneys.
Yeah, nip it in the bud.
Yeah, that's right. That's part of the problem. It's not getting nipped in the bud.
And then some.
Yeah, well, think about it. All these people are, you know, we need more police. We need more police. We wouldn't if you people would step up. I mean, you see a crime going on, you know, don't just sit there. Call the cops. even if they don't get there in time to keep it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
You can testify against the person who did it.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, there ain't no use in having as many police officers as you want. You still have to have the people backing them up.
Yeah, you're right.
And I back them up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if I see somebody, breaking into my neighbor's house, first thing I'm going to do is a 911. And then I'm going to go over there and make sure he doesn't leave.
Mm.
And I have the wherewithal to do that too. So
I think a lot of folks listening do.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing. They talk about, where do we put them? Have you ever seen the birthing compartment on a guided missile destroyer?
Okay.
I mean, you're talking like about the size of a closet is what you got.
Mm.
And then the common area.
Right.
You'll have 50 guys in one room.
Hmm.
And it ain't all that big, people. Why is this guy who, murdered somebody going to be let out on bail or something like that when he could be packed in like that?
Hmm.
Southern
Why
poverty
does he have
law.
more rights than that guy out there
ACLU.
defending me from the evils of the world?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Charles just said, Southern poverty law and ACLU.
Yeah.
There you go. If you got letters instead of an actual name,
Yeah.
something's wrong there.
Right.
It can stand for something, but something's wrong if you ain't proud enough to say it.
Right. Exactly. So.
So, and I believe in rights as long as they're in the Constitution, federal rights,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and in the state Constitution for my state's rights.
Sure.
Hey, that's all you got to remember, and remember that if you don't help, you're part of the problem.
There you go.
Mabel, get me out of here.
Get him
All
outta
right,
here.
we'll get them out of here. There we go. We're out of here. All right. 601-485-9191. Yeah, it always seems to come back to those two organizations here locally.
It does, and I guess the cruel and unusual punishment clause in the Constitution. I mean, that's it protects them, but how far do we take it? And obviously, it's been taken a little too far, I think.
Miss LaWanda, we love you on Facebook. She loves to comment. I love that she watches. But she said, is that $5,000 raise, does it come with a contract to stay with the department for a certain time? Question mark.
It should.
That's a good question. Yeah, I agree. I think it should too. And she said also, is the city administration holding MPD ransom to get the budget increase for the city administration's benefit? So I'm sure about that. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting to see that whole thing play out. Like I said, their next meeting to discuss the matter is going to be on Wednesday. As far as, it won't be an actual city council meeting. It'll be more just a kind of a work session type deal where they'll discuss more about this issue and others. Because think about it, it's not just about the policing budget. We got public works and
Yeah, they want to pay some more roads.
other stuff inside the budget they got to look at. So it's a very detailed process they got to go through as far as the budgeting goes, which has got theirs ready to roll. And of course, we'll talk more about the CTE as well because they had their first one of those open discussion meetings back on Thursday. And of course, they're going to have another one tonight, as has mentioned, out at Southeast tonight at 6. It'll be out there at Southeast Middle School, I believe, tonight, 6 o'clock. We'll give you those dates and times of all of those coming up. We had 3 of those left. And of course, the voting precincts for the October 3rd special election. But first, let's thank our friends down at A&A Glass, folks. They got that great-looking shop there, a couple of doors down from the Children's Museum.
That's right, 217 22nd Avenue or Cedar Wood Parkway, whichever way you want to call it. 601-693-GLASS is their number. Easy to remember. They'll beat any price in town. They're fast, and, of course, they got great T-shirts as well. But they've got all kinds of windshields in stock, and they can not only replace, but they can repair your windshield if it has that crack that before it gets big and becomes a big issue, big spider across your windshield. Nope, they can go down there and fix it up before that happens. Go see them. They're open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, 601-693-GLASS, and, of course, conveniently located downtown at 217 22nd Avenue. They've been the #1 glass replacement company here in town for 10 years running. They must be doing something right. A&A Glass.
Fantastic. We're going to take a break here on Mornings of Meridian and get into all these other local issues. We got a lot going on locally, which is fantastic. Love the local stuff. So 601-485-9191. We'll be back in just a few. A little Joe Diffie here on Mornings in Meridian. Of course, you can hear Joe Diffie and all of those legends, those country legends on 105.7 The Legend, one of our sister stations. Our number here at Mornings in Meridian is 601-485-9191. Got just a few minutes before we get to the top of the hour, and we need to thank a couple of great folks, and that being Gary Barber, Gayla Gartman down at Barber & Sons Plumbing, and they are rolling, obviously, here on a Monday.
Oh, they're rolling every day down there, man. Every time I go, there is, well, not a line, but there's a bunch of people just kind of hanging around listening to Gary. And, of course, they've got every plumbing support, or every plumbing part that you need. Go see him, 1123 26th Avenue. Of course, you can give him a call, 601-482-7023. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, bring a picture of the problem or bring the part in itself. Gary will set you up straight, and he will show you how to fix it, give you detailed instructions, and it's as good as done. You don't have to wander around the big box store looking for aisle 57, bin 32. You get the wrong part, you got to bring it back. No, one-stop shopping at Barber & Sons Plumbing, 1123 26th Avenue. They've been in business for over 80 years. Man, I think they know what they're doing. 601-482-7023.
All right, we're going to get more into the school bond issue coming up after the top of the hour. But before we do that, you know me, I want to make this a goal every day here on the show, and that is to be sure folks go to their correct precinct and vote. If you usually vote in these following precincts, we're going to tell you exactly where you need to go on October 3rd to vote yes or no on the school bond issue for Lauderdale County. If you usually vote Bailey, Center Hill, Collinsville, Martin, or Sicalina, you will vote at West Lauderdale Elementary out on Highway 495. If you usually vote at these following precincts, 17, Causeyville, Odom, Vinville, Wynot, or Mount Gilead, you will vote at Southeast Middle School. That's out there on Old 19 Southeast. These following precincts, the Landing on 39, New Lauderdale, Daleville, East Lauderdale, Marion, Kewanee, Russell, and Tumsuba, you will vote at Northeast Middle School out on Highway 39. And the final precincts, Pickard, Clarkdale, Meehan, South Nellyburg. Yeah, South Nellyburg.
As opposed to North or
Exactly.
East or West Nellyburg.
And the 0 precinct, you folks will vote at Clarkdale Attendance Center on Highway 145. And remember, folks, your voter registration card, that is so key in this whole deal. If on your card at the very right side, this SCHD, that is your school district, if you have SEP there, you can't vote. Okay, just remember that. But if you have a number, obviously, in your school district, you can vote in the October 3rd special election. So appreciate Donald Jill Johnson and the Lauderdale County School District. You know, they've got all this information on their website. They're trying to encourage you to check your voter registration card, and those are the precincts, and we just want to be sure folks know that. Now, if you live inside the city, obviously you can't vote.
Right.
You know, this is for the county folks only, since it is a Lauderdale County School District special bond election.
Now, but kids inside the school district can access the Lauderdale County CTE. So, you wonder if there is some funding that will be, on a per student basis that's going to go to that, or exactly how that'll work. But, so should it be open for the entire county?
Yeah.
Just,
we got about just about a minute left here in this hour. Let's take one quick phone call. Hey, caller, good morning.
Hey, I know you got not much time. I'm going to make it quick. For those who are opposed to this bond, and I am opposed to it, we've got to make sure that this is not just a yes or no on this, but even the fact that the school board has thrown this upon us, there has to be a political price to pay for this. Now, Michael Wilson did not vote for this.
Correct.
He did not vote for this bond, but all the other board did. And so whether this thing passes or not, we have got to send a message in the following elections that we do not go for this kind of slimy, underhanded kind of stuff. With this special election called on a weird day, the way it's written, it's all convoluted. We've got to send a message that we don't go for this here in Lauderdale County, and we've got to make this school board pay for a political price for this. And I believe that this superintendent needs to resign or be asked to resign.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Appreciate your thoughts this morning. Appreciate that. 601-485-9191. I've heard some of that same talk about the school board as well, the way they voted.
Well,
so.
and having talked to a couple of school board members, I don't believe that the intent was to be deceptive, but I think that they should have foreseen that as the people interpreting it that way. And so I think that there was a lack of foresight in the way that they've conducted that. So, anytime we do anything, we've got to look at the ramifications and say, how will people perceive this? And I don't think they did that.
Very good. All right, let's take a break. Fox News in progress.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president's
All right, welcome back in. It's Mornings at Meridian on this Monday, September the 18th. Hope you had a great weekend as we start another one together. 601-485-9191. Roger allegedly will be back tomorrow.
Who? What? Who's that guy?
RB.
What's his name?
RB.
Oh, Roger Bird.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
but he'll be back just in time for our regularly monthly visit with the sheriff.
He's just coming back for the biscuit.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm skipping Monday, but I'll be back for breakfast. I mean, for the radio on Tuesday. Yeah. Okay.
We got Rob and Charles in with you this morning. And coming up later on this hour, we're going to be visiting by phone a representative from Norfolk Southern. This week is National Rail Safety Week. September the 18th through the 24th. We're going to be speaking with a rail safety expert about preventing tragedies and staying safe at the tracks.
Okay.
Coming up later on this hour. But this
Not
portion,
at the racetrack.
No, not at that
No,
track.
it can't be safe there. But
Not the dog track either.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But before we
Horse
do, before we get into our next topic, that being the CTE and school bond, let's talk about our friends up in Philadelphia, Doc's Toyota.
That's right. It's a new dealership. They've got all kinds of brand new inventory. 2023 Camrys, Tacomas, 4Runners, Tundras, RAV4s, you name it. Toyota makes it. They've got it, and they got plenty of them. They also have a huge selection of pre-owned inventory, all been through the rigorous multi-point Toyota inspection process, so you know it's a good quality car. Go see them up the road in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Sales number 601-781-8017. Of course, you can check them out online. They've got a great website, docstoyota.com. Lists all their brand new inventory and their used inventory. They got a great service department up there as well. Go see them on Highway 16 West, just up the road in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Doc's Toyota. There is no deal like a Doc's deal.
Before we get to our next phone call here on Mornings of Meridian, I want to go back to this weekend's edition of the Meridian Star. They did cover the meeting back on Thursday, one of the 4 open discussions regarding this upcoming school bond election for the CTE. Well, CTE building is part of what the language says in the bond issue, but just going through this article real quick, most of the first few paragraphs are a lot of statistics involving, graduation rates and children involved in the CT programs and whatnot. But obviously, the meat and potatoes for us is the actual language of the bond. And a lot of residents that were at this first meeting thought that the CT Center was a good idea, and I think we all have agreed on that. I think 100% across the board. I think we're all in favor of good education and doing what's best for the children, but it's this process that we keep talking about a lot. And a lot of the folks that were at the meeting back on Thursday took exception with how the school district rolled out the announcement of the bond issue. They contended the little notice of a tax increase and the quick special election. We've talked about those issues here in the program. Now, one resident that's quoted here in the paper wanted to know about the wording of the ballot referendum, saying that it sounded as though the money could be used on other buildings and facilities. But Rob Smith, who we've had on this program several times, who's heavily involved with this CT building in the center, this is the straight quote from the paper here back on Saturday. Smith said the language and the wording comes directly from Mississippi law, and the district added the CT Center into that wording. This is the quote from Mr. Smith. He says, that has been a source of confusion for a lot of folks because it leads you into thinking that it can be used for other things, but this is just for the CT project and the expansion of it. Okay. That is his quote there in the paper from Saturday. When some of the CT programs are moved to the center from their current locations at the 4 high schools, then those classrooms will have to be reconstructed and turned back into classrooms. There is money in the bond issue to cover those costs, he added. Now, several residents were asking about the $8 million from the state of Mississippi. We've talked about that as well. Mr. Smith went on to say, we've got a one-time appropriation from the state of $8 million that was intended to get this project kicked off. At that point in time, when Dr. Kane and I went to the legislature and pleaded the case for the project, there were no architects involved. There was a vision. Now, at this point, about $1.5 million of that appropriation was used to acquire the property, hire an architect, completely gut the existing building, pay for permits, remove asbestos, and have design plans drawn up. When plans were finalized, the center was projected to cost between $18 million and $22 million, depending on construction and materials costs once the project gets underway. Now, that price includes equipment, it includes furniture, it includes the parking lot, it includes everything it takes to get the project finished. Smith went on to say, which would put the cost at roughly, Charles, about $315 per square foot for the 60,000 square foot building. So there you go. There's a lot of facts and figures there for you, or figures, depending on which side of the fence you're on.
Right.
What you want to say. So your thoughts on that right there. A lot of numbers right there.
And they're just going to keep fleshing it out. But what you said initially is, I think that's something that we need to focus on. And okay, what's best for the kids in this county and in the city for that matter. And what is our obligation as a community? It's to educate our children. That's one part of it, to keep the community safe, and a variety of other issues as well. But I think that we need to focus on the education and what truly benefits the kids. And I know we talked about how much of an increase this will be. And it's fairly minimal. I mean, it was $30, $40 annually. Is that, if memory serves? Is that kind of what, it was projected to be?
And it went on to
say... the average price in the house in
it went on to say here, the district took the middle road on this and accepted the projected cost of $19 million. Subtracting the $6.5 million in the bank is how the district arrived at a bond issue for $12.5 million, is what Rob Smith said in the article here from Saturday.
No, I understand that. And I think that what you said, your favorite word earlier, I said mine's ice cream. But, I think that they need to have detailed budget for this. Okay,
yes.
Where is the money going? And I think that it would be good to have those projections now. And I assume they're available because they have an amount that they're asking for, so they know where the money's going. So they need to present that, I would think, at these town hall meetings that they're having and saying, look, this is what we're going to spend it on. This is where it's going. And regardless of how you feel about how that they have called the election, because I think everybody has kind of a little bit of a question as to why they did it that way. Ultimately, where's our compass? What's our true north? And that is what's best for the kids. And so that's what we need to look at and say, okay, regardless of all the other stuff, where's the money going? Show me that. Show me the money. Show me the budget for it. And also, we need to kind of think to ourselves, okay, what is the best thing for our children in the community?
Absolutely.
That's kind of my thought on it.
Well, my whole thing about it is when you come out and boldly say, and I don't think it's boldly said, this money is going to the CTE building.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you're going to use it for the CTE building, let's see the actual dollar amounts where this is going, this is going, this is going, this is going, 12 and a half. I totally agree with that. But if you don't show us that, people are still going to be extremely skeptical about it.
Sure.
Because of and I understand the language of the bond. By state law, I get all that kind of stuff, but when we live in a culture that we live in right now, there's a lot of mistrust between government and the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry,
and it's not helping this.
It's not helping.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's making it worse.
So if you really want to make people feel more comfortable, that $12.5 million, put it on a slide. Here's where it's going. It's
100,000
here, and here.
And you may bore that audience to tears, and that's fine. But at least they know, and we all know exactly where it's going, and publish that. Publish the budget for it, and you know. Well, you've got 100,000 going for solar or whatever that is, and then we could look at that and say, "Wait a minute, you're going to spend $4 million on that, or whatever that budget is," and say that doesn't make sense to me that my tax dollars are going for that. So that we would have an opinion on it.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone line. Hey, caller, thanks for holding. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
The man that called in prior to your break, I agree with him because I'm against the bond issue too. Not that we don't think that we need some things for the kids, but mainly how they have projected this. But I do have two questions, one for Donna Gill, and y'all might have answered this already, but I talked to someone that was close to the board, and they said the reason they couldn't put it in November, it would be a whole nother ballot and more people to run the polls in order to vote at that time, that it would have been more difficult to include it then. I don't believe that because I think we voted on many things at one time during the general election. But anyway, that's my question to Donna Gill. And then the other thing, in reading the bond, there was a statement in here that the school board could determine to issue some or all of the bonds, like they could sell it to Mississippi Development Bank. What does that mean? I mean, if we need it, why would that even be in there that they had the option to sell that? That was kind of confusing, but, sending an alarm. And the reason I think everyone is questioning is our supervisors have not helped the voters, the Lauderdale County residents, because of the way they have handled business. So, of course, we're going to go, wait a minute, stop. We need to rethink this. And the other thing is I'd like to know the money they spent on the engineer, the cleanup of the asbestos, and the purchase of the land. Break that out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think you could start a project till you had secured all your monies. But they went ahead and started something that they knew they'd have to come back to us for the money. That is not good business practice.
Well,
So that's where I'm upset with Dr. Kane. They shouldn't have even started this until they had the money for the project.
Well, my understanding is they do have the money to complete the project on a certain level. The $8 million will complete it, but not in the way that they want to, with all of the programs that they want to include in the CTE. So they do have enough. The $8 million from the state is enough to. It was for asbestos abatement, obviously, for purchasing the building and for the renovations they need to get the project going.
And they've spent 1.5 of that already.
Right, and so they've got some more money, but they just, in order to have all of the programs that they want, kind of their wish list, they need the additional $12.5 million.
Well, why don't they just stick with what they were given?
Well,
Because
they may
people
have
can
to.
get behind that. Yes, and they should, because that's just good business. You were given the money, base what you want around that, and the classrooms, throwing that part in, that needs to be dealt with later. I listened to Jonathan Wells talk about what's coming down for the taxpayers, again, another increase because they want to build a new jail and they want some other things.
Yeah.
And I just think we need to say, like that man said, let's tell them through our vote, no, you're serving us. Let's do it the right way, and we can look at it again in the future.
Yeah.
But not right now.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
fair
that.
enough. And speaking to the election with the what she was talking about with seeking clarification from Don Jill, and my understanding is the same, that if they would put it on the November ballot, they would need additional staff and a separate ballot for it. But so what? Okay, so you got an extra poll worker at each polling place, and you have an extra piece of paper to fill out. I mean, is that arduous? And so I don't know that really justifies having the special election in October.
Well, I mean, the bottom line here is, like I said, we read through all that information that was in the paper on Saturday. That I was quoting an article from Saturday. Of course, the meeting was back on Thursday, and I'm pretty sure Roger and Paul covered this a good bit on Friday. But this is such a big deal. I wonder how these meetings are going to continue. I said the first one was going to be very important because how are they going to roll this thing out in the beginning? Is it going to be the same rollout at all of these different school districts as we go here? And there was another question asked on Facebook a minute ago. Are there going to be different answers to all these questions as we go along? How can we compare?
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are just so darn skeptical. I mean, they really are. So.
Yeah. And I think, as you alluded to earlier, there's a mistrust, there's a disconnect between the voters and the government, and I think that's on a nationwide level. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, why is that?
Right.
And, but certainly it applies to the local as well, and so I think that having full disclosure and transparency is vital in the political climate that we're in, and I think that they weren't exactly forthcoming with that. So that's part of the problem, or maybe that's kind of the major issue with this whole process is kind of the rollout and the way that they're doing the election, the special election.
Just quoting some numbers that they had in the article here. It says in a 5-county area, including Lauderdale County, 21.5% of the jobs in that area require high-level degrees such as a bachelor's, master's, or specialist degree, with about 30% of local high school graduates actually finishing college. That leaves about 8 to 9% who come back home and can't find a job and may move off as a result. And that was coming from Mr. Smith in the article as well. So, like I said, a lot to digest.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot to digest. Let's go back to the phone line as the issue continues. We still got weeks to go. Let's go.
do, yeah.
Let's go back to the phone line. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, how y'all guys?
Hey,
Morning.
hey now.
I just want to tell you the reason things get so confusing, and I understand. Heard what you read about the article that came out that Rob had put out about where the money was going and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invited to a coffee at a friend's house last Thursday morning, where three of the superintendent and two of his buddies were there. Rob was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I heard out of the superintendent's mouth they paid for the building with 16th section land money.
So that wasn't
not come
part
out
of it.
of the $8 million. Now that was last Thursday, unless they've changed or said they had to reimburse the 16th section land money. Something's changed between Thursday and today. He said that they did use about $800,000 to pay the architect and to gut the building and the asbestos, but they still had $7.2 million left. Because everybody heard it. There was 7 or 8 of us there, and we all heard it. 16th section land was where the money was coming from.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to the Tony. I'm going to go back to the article here. It says about 1.5 million. I'm just reading word for word here. 1.5 million of that appropriation of the 8 million from the state was used to to acquire the property, hire an architect, completely gut the existing building, pay for permits, remove asbestos, and have design plans drawn up. That's what the article said there. So.
Not what was said Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got two different things going on. So.
That's right. So they said 16th section land actually bought the building, but the architect and the cleanup of the building was paid for out of the $8 million.
Well, and that's
what we heard.
abatement ain't cheap. We know that.
No,
asbestos.
no.
But yeah, and that may be that they applied the purchase of the land. They misquoted that, or it was a mistake. I don't know.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, you're right. There are some questions there, and then we need some answers. So that's interesting.
Well, it just kind of goes back. The 16th section land money is really designed as a slush fund for emergencies and stuff like that.
Right.
That's the way it was originally set up, that they would have, guaranteed income off this land, either rent or, whatever, cutting timber, that type thing. And it gives them some flexibility, which, just like what happened out at Clarkdale when they had the tornado. They had to get those rental buildings and all that kind of stuff on an emergency basis. But and that's what the 16th section land money is for. And so they chose to use it, which the board has the right to buy that property. Now, there again, my question tonight at Southeast is going to be, where did the money come from? Y'all got to reimburse the 16th section land, or was what you said the other day just misspoken?
In the line we read there in the article from Mr. Smith when he said about the way the language was written in the bond, he said that all of the funds are going to go to the CT building. Do you think that is really going to happen?
That's the way they're talking, okay?
Yeah.
It's just, but they could have wrote the bond. You can sit there and argue with lawyers all day long whether they have to write it.
Sure.
But they could have wrote the bond that 100% of the funds would go toward that building or debt service for the building. And they didn't have to put, we can buy buses or we can use it for other buildings or anything like that. They didn't have to write it that way. That just gives them so much flexibility to say, okay, we don't have to spend the money the way it was presented to the taxpayers. We can use it any way we want to.
Right.
So anyway, I'll be there tonight, and I will hear what they've got to say, and hopefully we'll have a question and answer time and try to find out, where the money's really going to. And again, one of the things that I've really looked into is I question some of the programs that they're wanting to put out there. These children, in my opinion, are going to be, when they get out of high school, that's it. They're done. They're not going to community college. There's going to be some exceptions, okay? But typically, when I came along and you went to shop, that when you after lunch, you went to shop and you learned how to work on cars, whatever. But when these people got out of school, they went to work.
Right.
They went to an automobile repair shop or a body shop and did what they learned in high school, and most of them had great careers. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't think we need to have anything out there like this airplane maintenance technology. If they're not going to be certified to work on airplanes when they get through, why have it? To me, if any of y'all ever called a contractor or a plumber lately, well, I'll be there and I can give you a price in a couple of months.
Right.
And I can get there in 6 months to do your job.
Right.
I think carpenters and plumbers and electricians and heating and air would be something that would be so much more hands-on and useful for the students that's going to this program. That's my opinion, okay?
Right.
I mean, I can't prove it. I know they're educators and everything, and they might be right. Okay? But it's something I would like to sit down and talk with somebody about, because that's to me it's a lot of the programs are just unnecessary and unneeded. And then you go back to the way he wrote it. Anytime you give an architect a blank check, I've used some architects in my career, and I'm telling you guys, when the architect gets through, you can't afford it.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you tell them to design me a so many square foot house, and buddy, I mean, gold plated, plumbing fixtures,
everything.
And they have a knack for picking out light fixtures that are the highest priced and all this kind of stuff. So you've got to, what I would have done, as a businessman, I would have told you, we got $8 million to spend, okay, and design me a building for $8 million.
Yeah.
And I can't spend more than that, okay? That's what we have to spend for this project. Don't say the sky's the limit. Let's design whatever. I don't care what Newton County's done or all these other counties have done. We just need a functional training center that meets any kind of code that is required, and have these students trained properly. That's
Right.
what we need to do.
There you go.
And so anyway, it's a I might have said this the other day, guys, but I ran into a friend that downtown for lunch one day this last week, and he was talking about he lives in the city, he can't even vote, but his parents live out in the county.
Right.
And he was saying that his mom and dad never had jobs that really had a 401k, but they both worked hard till they got old and couldn't work anymore. I think his dad had a heart attack and mother's diabetic. And he said they're seriously considering dropping their homeowners insurance because property taxes have gotten so high. And they said, but they educated me and my sister, sent us to college. We didn't have to borrow money. That was not done at the time when they went to college. But like they worked hard, sent us saved money mainly for our college education. Now they have a small IRA that a couple of $100 a month income plus that Social Security, and who can live on that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you have people that are having to make these type of choices, do I keep my homeowner's insurance, and if we have a fire, I have nothing, or do I keep paying my property tax? And do people really look at that? You see what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
These people are making these decisions for everybody. You got to look at the people that really can't afford that, and there's no safety net for these people.
Yeah.
They've got a paid for house, and as far as the bank is concerned, but really you never pay your house all the way up because really the county owns it. They just rent it to you.
Sure.
As long as you pay your property tax.
Well, Tony,
Okay.
we got to run this morning, but I appreciate you as always.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. We're going to take a break here on Mornings of Meridian. When we return, we're going to visit with a representative from Norfolk Southern. It is Railway Safety Week. Yeah, Rail Safety Week is this week. So we'll talk more about that coming up next here on Mornings of Meridian. Day. I'm glad you're making us a part of it. And Charles, before we get to more phone calls here on Mornings of Meridian, did you know that every 3 hours in the United States, a person or vehicle is hit by a train?
Really?
That is unreal.
Wow.
And over 60% of vehicle train collisions happen at active crossings with gates or signals.
60%.
60%.
Happen when there's a warning.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Rail safety may seem like common sense, but being in a hurry can cloud the judgment of even the savviest of motorists. While train vehicle incidents are dramatically declining, hundreds of preventable fatal accidents still happen yearly. On the line this morning, we've got John Fleps. He is the Vice President of Safety for Norfolk Southern. And, John, I appreciate you coming on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Well, John, tell us why we all need what we need to know about rail safety here on this very important week, National Rail Safety Week.
Yes, sir. So first and foremost, Norfolk Southern, we are committed to setting the gold standard for safety in the rail industry. And a big piece of that is the safety of the communities and the citizens and the public that interact with our infrastructure, with our tracks, and the many, many communities that we operate through. So Rail Safety Week is an opportunity for the entire industry to really heighten awareness around safety around the railroad tracks and to touch on what you mentioned, the tragedies that occur every couple of hours across the entire country where people or vehicles are struck by trains at railroad grade crossings or just along the tracks in general. So thanks for giving me a few minutes to talk about it today.
Absolutely. John, tell us some tips to stay safe around the railroad tracks and those rail crossings, because that number we just said, 60% happen at active crossing, even with the gates and signals. So what are some tips folks need to know out there?
Hey, you touched on it. Patience is a virtue. When you see those gates come down, you see those lights flashing, don't take a gamble, don't roll the dice, stop short, let that train get by, and then proceed safely when the gates come up. Trains that operate through Meridian, it's a great railroad town. Amtrak trains travel upwards of 79 miles an hour. They can come up on you incredibly fast, and there's one fact that's 100% certain. If it's you versus a train, the train is going to win every time. And 99 times out of 100, if they see you, it's already too late. They're not going to be able to stop. A full-size freight train, upwards of 10,000 tons of freight, that's a lot of momentum barreling down, and you cannot stop a train quickly. It takes upwards of a mile sometimes. So if you put yourself in a situation where you are in danger, you're in the line of fire of that train, you're putting yourself at risk and the risk of those who are in the car with you. So just stop short, be patient, respect the gates, let the train get by, and then proceed safely.
John, what about those blind spots? I know that some of these crossings, especially here locally in Meridian, Lauderdale County, can be an issue. Can you explain how those can factor into accidents out there?
Absolutely. So when you think about a blind spot when you're driving, it's that zone there off to your left or off to your right where you really can't see what's going on. When you cross a grade crossing, and particularly a crossing that has what we call passive warning, which is just the old-fashioned cross bucks, that X that says railroad crossing on it, no gates, no lights. You really have to respect the risk that is associated with a train on those tracks. That means doing exactly what you teach your kids to do when they're going to cross the street. Stop, look, and listen. Pull up, stop short, look left, look right, make sure there's no train coming, and that you can proceed safely all the way across the tracks. There's a place for you to go, and then let that train come across. Another blind spot at public crossings with gates and lights that people find themselves in every day is if there's traffic ahead, and that traffic might be coming to a stop, there may be a stoplight just a little bit down the road. When you see traffic hitting those brake lights ahead, ensure you leave yourself an out. That means stopping short of the tracks until there is plenty of space for you to proceed safely across. Many of the accidents that occur every day are where people find themselves pinned in. They pull up behind a car that stops, and next thing they know, they're stuck on the tracks with nowhere to go. Get on out, get in the clear. If you find yourself in that situation, and call 911. Don't allow yourself to fall into that blind spot to begin with, and you won't suffer the consequences.
Once again, we're visiting with John Phelps. He's the Vice President of Safety at Norfolk Southern, and this is National Rail Safety Week. And real quick, John, before we let you go, I know you got another interview coming up in just a few moments, but what should folks do if they come to a crossing that doesn't have a gate? I know that there is a lot of areas out in our community where this is, the case. I know I go across one every day coming to work. It doesn't have a gate. It just has the lights. But what do folks need to be aware of in that situation?
Hey, respect the tracks. And if you see tracks, think train. Pull up, stop short 100% of the time, look right, look left. Sure you know the way is clear, and then proceed across safely. If you do find yourself in a situation where either you or somebody else is stuck or there's an emergency on the tracks and you need to call 911, a tip for everybody is there's a little blue sign that is at every single grade crossing across North America that provides a unique identification number for that spot. So if you call 911 and they want to know where you're at, you can reference that number that's on that blue plate, and they'll be able to get in contact with the right railroad, and the railroad will know exactly where you are and can stop trains accordingly. Seconds truly matter. So knowing where to go and who to call and how to tell people where you're at is really important. Talk about it with your kids. Talk about it with your friends. Spread that awareness, and a little bit of ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure.
John, real quick, where can listeners go to learn more about rail safety before we let you go?
Yeah, so check out Operation Lifesaver's website. It's oli.org. Operation Lifesaver is a nonprofit that's 100% committed to promoting safety around railroad tracks across the whole country. A lot of great information, tips, statistics, stuff that you can share with your classroom if you're a teacher to create that awareness. And then you can also check out Norfolk Southern's website. That's www.nscorp.com. A lot of tips and tricks on there about safety and just what we're doing to ensure the safety of our operations across all 18,000 miles of the tracks that we operate.
Fantastic. Well, John Phillips with Norfolk Southern, Vice President of Safety, appreciate you giving us some time this morning.
Yeah, really appreciate you having me on, guys. Thanks.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Appreciate you being on. John Phillips with Norfolk Southern Corporation. This is National Rail Safety Week. It's September the 18th through the 20th. Rail safety expert there, and his big distinction is preventing tragedies and staying safe at the tracks.
Yeah.
Because, Charles, we all know, every time I come up here to work, I have to go through a crossing where there's not one of the gates that comes down, and I think a lot of folks have that in some cases out there in the county.
So you're rolling the dice every morning.
Exactly.
Come to work. Like,
Exactly.
Am I gonna make it? Yeah.
He's not practicing proper safety. He just does what he wants to do.
So now, do you come to a full stop before the
Actually,
tracks?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Good
Well,
on you.
because
All right.
a lot of these tracks out in the rural areas of Lauderdale County, folks just roll through there. But like I said, if you come up with one that's got a blind spot, that train, he said those Amtrak trains are going 79 miles per hour in some cases.
Sure.
It ain't a lot of time to react.
And you really don't want to compete against a train,
No, not
car
really.
versus train,
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
That's a battle you're never going to win.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
So National Rail Safety Week is
cool.
this week.
I didn't know there was such a thing. But, interesting what he said about the blue plate as far as the unique identification at every crossing.
That is interesting.
That's, for me, it's fascinating. I'm going to start looking for them.
There you go.
I'm going to stay on the tracks and look. No, I'm not. I'm going to stop before the tracks and then look for it. Yeah.
601-485-9191 is our number. Let's thank our friends down at Ready to Roof.
That's right. When you're ready to roof is ready to assist you with all your roofing needs. They're our only award-winning local roofing company. Of course, they're certified as Master Elite Roofers, and only 2% of all roofing contractors in the nation have qualified as Master Elite Certified, so you know that is a distinctive honor. They have financing options available, so if you think you can't afford a new roof, yes, you can, because they have low monthly payments. Give them a call today for your free estimate, 601-573-1150. You can also make an appointment online at ready2roof.com.
We've been talking a good bit about the school bond issue. Of course, there's another open discussion meeting tonight at Southeast Middle. They'll have that one at 6 o'clock this evening, but I hope folks will attend that one later on tonight. Now, in other news, the Lauderdale County folks set their budget, and they're preparing the move to the new courthouse.
Okay.
The Lauderdale County Board of Supervisors met briefly back on Thursday ahead of their regular work session to finalize the budget for the upcoming year and set the tax rate, residents will pay. The county plans to spend $93.8 million in the fiscal year, with 30% going toward public works, such as the road department, 20% to public safety, such as the sheriff's department, and 26% going to fund general government. County taxes. Oh, where are we going here?
Oh, not again.
County taxes will be unchanged at 60.7 mils, which has stayed the same since the 22 fiscal year. Now, residents will see a slight bump, though, in their tax bills, however, as the Lauderdale County School District, here they are again, increased its millage for debt service from 2.86 mils to 3, which is the highest it can go. The total combined millage for the county and school is set at 118.7 mils. Well, and of course that was what they met briefly about Thursday, because by law they have to do that. So.
Well, and we talked about it, I think, last week, of the budget for the school board for the county being about $90 million this year. And 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
I think the last one, 2019, 2020, was about $60 million. And so there were a lot of questions as to where that extra funding came from, because taxes were not increased. Did it come from COVID money? Why isn't part of that COVID money being used for this CTE? And I wonder if any of those questions will be raised. I know it's not. It is relevant to this. It's not particularly relevant to the actual bond.
Sure.
But I think for the whole school board and where are these funds coming from? Why is there such a disconnect? Are those figures wrong? And if so, why were they published as such? But I think we've got a lot of questions and not a lot of answers at this point.
Also, I mentioned the courthouse as well.
Yeah.
In that meeting back on Thursday, of course, the Lauderdale County's new $50 million government complex is nearing completion, with furniture already arriving and being assembled inside the new courthouse building. Chris Lafferty, county administrator, said on that particular day, back on Thursday, the county was eyeing the first week of October to begin moving in to the new space, and needed to move forward with hiring a moving company to help relocate the county offices. And of course, they're going through that process right now. And let's see,
assembling the furniture. If you get stuff from IKEA, then they'll probably be moving in December, because it's going to take them a while.
Yeah, they're saying here, says the current plan is to move the departments in the Raymond P. Davis Annex first, and hopefully iron out any wrinkles in the process before moving on to the court clerks and others in the old courthouse.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the goal was 1st of October. But they're kind of going through some of that stuff right now with moving and whatnot. But yeah, of course, so they'll move, also take individual departments' operational needs into account as well. So yeah, there's your county budget this year. Once again, that price tag, $93.8 million, 30% going to public works, 20% to the sheriff's department, public safety, and 26% going into the general government fund.
20% to the sheriff's department of $93 million. Is that right? So budget's, $18 million, something like that for the sheriff's department? Okay.
And you also have to consider that's for the law enforcement and the jail.
The jail, right.
So, because they have the operation of that jail as well.
That's a lot of guys to feed.
Exactly. It's a lot of folks to feed.
Yeah, bologna sandwiches.
So there you go. And, of course, we mentioned the city portion of their budget. They're still going through that process, and they're going to meet again on Wednesday.
Okay.
So we're at fiscal year time as budgets are being approved and whatnot.
Fun times with Rail Safety Week as well.
Rail Safety Week as well.
National Rail Safety Week. Yeah.
Before we move on to our next commercial break, let's thank Danny Shelton and the staff down at Premier Paint and Body. Folks, they have been there for years and years for you. You can't miss them. They are right next door to Johnson Dodge. And, boy, they do everything for your vehicle, from dinks and dunks to even windshield replacement.
Ding, dent to scratch, you name it. They do it all down there. They've been doing it for over 30 years, providing the best auto body work and quality paint jobs. And, of course, 90 years combined experience among that hardworking, dedicated staff. No job is too small, whether it's just a scratch, a ding, or a dent, or too large. And the results are like new. They'll give you a free estimate. They'll work with your insurance company, and all of their work has a lifetime warranty. Give them a call, 601-482-PAINT. Located right next to Johnson Dodge, open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's Premier Paint and Body, your Premier Paint and Body shop here in town.
All right, let's go to the phone line real quick before we take another commercial break. Hey, caller, good morning.
Joe, wish the Air Force a happy birthday.
Did not. I'm glad you did it.
We didn't even sing it.
Because we've been school bonding it all morning.
Bond.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm tuning in late. I hate that I missed it.
No.
But I want to wish the Air Force a happy birthday. And it was the Army Air Corps prior to 1947. And on September the 18th, 1947 is when it was designated a separate service. So happy birthday, Air Force.
There you go. They're 76 today, right?
That would be my guess based on the math.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Sounds good. Sounds good. 76 is a good number.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Yesterday on WTOK News, they did a veteran suicide segment, group out of Jackson. We've got a group in Meridian. They did a Christmas tree segment from Hattiesburg. We've got a Christmas tree farm not far from Meridian.
Yeah.
They did a high school security segment from Gulfport. And I would think that we would be more interested in our local high schools. But that's just my opinion, you know.
I know.
And I hate to be critical, but my goodness, if they're going to say always local, always on. Anyway, I
Be
guess
local.
y'all-
Yeah.
There you go.
gotcha.
I get
All
you.
right. Preach it, brother.
Over and out, nothing to snout. No, that ain't right.
Oh, gosh. Jay Slade checking in. We're going to take our last break here, pay off the rest of these bills. We'll come back to wrap up the show after this. That is like the longest intro ever.
Oh, it is. I know. I love it. Yeah.
It's great, though. Got just a few minutes left here. Mornings in Meridian. Been a very busy Monday show.
Yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, a lot of local
Talking
stuff.
Bond. Yep, and a variety of other things as well. Well, let me ask you a question. So, how would you like to save $889 this year?
Absolutely. I'm all about it. We're all about saving money.
Pay for that bond issue.
Pay for the taxes, yeah.
Man. Well, here's the deal. When you combine State Farm, auto, and home insurance, when you bundle it, you can save an average of $889. State Farm agent Jeffrey Wilson is ready to help you combine home and auto and save right here in Meridian. Give him a call today, 601-483-8253. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and so is Jeffrey Wilson, and he is a good neighbor. And what's great about Jeffrey Wilson is you can sit down with him once a year. He can evaluate all of your insurance needs, make any adjustments as necessary, and then save you even more. And it's good to know your insurance agent, because when you have a need, when you've got a claim, you just call Jeffrey Wilson anytime, night or day. Jeffrey's groaning when I say that, but seriously, if something happens, you can call him and he takes care of it, and that's what's great about him. 601-483-8253. Jeffrey Wilson, State Farm Insurance.
We got Glenn Beck on the way next, but it's very unusual tonight. Monday Night Football's got 2 games tonight. I don't see this too often. They're going to be starting within an hour of each other.
Yeah.
The Saints are at the Panthers tonight. That is a 6:15 kickoff. They're going to have it on the big ESPN and then ESPN2. So, of course, that's the
deuce.
Yeah,
Right.
some of that Manning coverage.
Whatever.
And then you got over on WTOK ABC, you've got the Browns at the Steelers tonight at 7:15. So, like I said, they're starting within an hour of each other. So, we're going to have dual football games going on tonight. So, I guess that Saints-Panthers game will have some local interest. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely going to watch that one. But it's not unprecedented, but they usually do that the first week.
Yeah.
And so doing it the second week is a little bit odd, but hey, whatever.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, because usually on the big kickoff weekend, they always
Monday night, Thursday night,
they have the
Tuesday
big
night, whatever.
they usually have a really good Sunday night game, which that was a dud last week, and then they have the doubleheader on Monday nights, because usually it's like an East Coast game and then a West Coast game, but this year they're doing it on week 2, and it's 2 games within an hour of each other, because the Saints will be at Carolina. And then the Browns will be at the Steelers tonight. So, but kind of odd how they're doing that tonight. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of people will be glued to that early ball game with New Orleans and Carolina. So, but of course,
divisional matchup.
Yeah, watched a little bit of the Dolphins last night, and the Patriots. Tua is pretty good. Tua is pretty good. Well, if I had those receivers to throw to, I'd be pretty good too.
No, you wouldn't. Not that good.
Not that good.
Sorry,
sorry.
Yeah.
So, and real quick before we get out of here, the new top 25 is out, and there's a lot of shakeups. Of course, Alabama is not in the top 10 anymore.
What?
First time since 2015 they've not been in the top 10.
Yeah, well, they had a really poor performance against USF. Did win by a couple touchdowns, but still tied at 3 at the half. Ooh.
They will be right back here on WALT this weekend in Tuscaloosa against the Ole Miss Rebels. That'll be a huge football game. Huge.
It will be. That'll be a good matchup.
Be the 2:30 game this week. So, folks, have a good rest of your day. Roger allegedly will be back tomorrow.
So they say.
And the sheriff of Lauderdale County, Billy Solly, will be here as well. Charles, have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
All right, Glenn Beck is next.